The sky above the planet Crowlees was red and full of smoke. Clouds moved slowly like heavy stones, and the wind howled through the trees like a whisper from the dead. A small escape pod fell from the sky, spinning fast. Flames wrapped around it as it crashed deep into the thick jungle. When it hit the ground, dust rose like a wave, and strange birds flew away screaming. Inside the pod, a tiny girl lay still. Her name was Mina. She was no older than 7 years by human standards. Her skin was pale silver. Her black hair was tangled. Her eyes were big and soft, like someone who had seen too much sadness for someone so young. She had no weapons, no armor, no tools, only a soft cloth wrapped around her shoulders and a strange round pendant hanging from her neck. Her people had left her here. They said she brought death. They believed she was cursed, that she had not spoken since that day. The planet Crowlees was not meant for someone like her. It was a wild place, full of monsters. Creatures taller than trees, with claws like knives and teeth like blades. Humans had seen this planet before in their records, and they stayed away. It was called a death world. But Mina was here now. Alone, the first night was cold. The trees glowed faint green in the dark, and the ground was soft with moss. The sounds of growling and heavy steps surrounded her. But Mina did not cry. She climbed out of the broken pod and walked slowly, barefoot, until she found a large hollow log. She crawled inside and curled up tight. Her pendant glowed softly, like a tiny moon. The log shook once as something large walked past. But nothing attacked her. In the morning, she opened her eyes. She was still alive. Her stomach hurt with hunger. She had not eaten for 2 days. The air was thick with the smell of plants and rotting things. Large beetles moved in the mud. A shadow flew above, something with wings as wide as a house. She began walking again. Step by step, day by day, Mina learned how to move without being seen. She moved like the small animals. She listened to the wind. She watched the monsters, and the monsters began to notice her. One day, a large 4-legged beast with a broken horn stood in front of her. Its eyes were cloudy. It was blind. It sniffed the air and walked close. Mina did not run. The beast growled low. It was not a threat, just a question. She reached out slowly and touched its fur. It was warm, rough like stone. The beast lowered its head and made a soft sound, almost like a sigh. Then it lay beside her and stayed there until night came. The next day, another creature came. This one had feathers and a sharp beak. It dropped a round fruit in front of her and flew away. She ate the fruit. It was sweet. She began to understand something. The beasts were not attacking her because they felt something strange, something peaceful. Mina had no fear. She did not harm. And somehow they could feel it. The days turned into weeks. Mina started to walk with the creatures. She watched how they fought each other, how they hunted, how they cared for their young. She learned which plants could be eaten. She drank water from the leaves. She slept in high trees when the ground was not safe. She did not speak, but she sang in her heart. A soft hum that only she could hear. And in the dark places of the jungle, the monsters listened. One night, a storm came. The sky opened with lightning. The beasts howled in fear. Trees fell. Mina was caught under falling branches. Her leg hurt badly. She could not walk. She lay under the broken wood, rain pouring over her, but the blind beast came again. It pushed the branches with its body. Then it lay beside her, covering her from the wind. That was the first time Mina cried. Not from pain. From something else. Something warm. She touched the pendant around her neck. It blinked once. Maybe still working. Maybe someone could still see her, but no one came. No ship. No rescue. No voices. Only the monsters. Only the wild. And yet, Mina did not feel alone anymore. Something was changing. She was not just surviving. She was becoming a part of the jungle. She no longer feared the creatures, and they no longer feared her. She had no weapons, no voice, no people. But somehow, the planet Crawleys had not killed her. It had accepted her. And far above, in the cold stars, a group of humans were preparing to land. They had no idea a small girl had survived here, a girl the beasts called Little Death, not because she brought harm, but because even death could not touch her. Days passed, then weeks. On a planet where everything killed to survive, the little girl did not die. Mina was no warrior. She had no strength, no fire, no claws. But somehow, the monsters of Crawleys let her live. Some even began to come near her, without growling or snapping their jaws. The planet's rules were clear. The strong survive, the weak disappear. But Mina had become a strange kind of strong. One morning, she sat near a quiet stream, her bare feet in the water. A large shadow passed behind her, a horned creature with 6 legs and dark red fur. Its face was marked with deep scars. It sniffed the air, then stopped, watching her. Mina did not move. The beast slowly walked closer, step by step. It was nearly twice her size. Its mouth opened to show long yellow teeth. Then it lowered its head and drank from the stream beside her. They sat together for a long time. Mina had learned something deep, not with words, but with feeling. She could sense the emotions of the beasts: fear, hunger, pain, peace. They had no language, but they spoke with eyes, with breath, with small sounds. Mina listened with her heart. Sometimes when a young beast cried, Mina went near and touched its back. The mother beast, instead of attacking, let her stay. Sometimes she helped them find food, pointing to safe plants or fruits. She never hurt them. She never shouted. And they never harmed her. One night, the air grew cold, and the jungle was quiet. Too quiet. Mina knew something was wrong. She climbed into a tree and waited. Hours passed. Then came the shaking of the earth. It was the Krog beast, the king of this part of the jungle. It had thick black scales, a wide mouth full of tusks, and eyes that glowed orange in the dark. Even the other monsters ran when it came. Mina froze as the beast walked below her tree, but it stopped. It lifted its head and sniffed the air. Its huge eyes turned and locked on hers. Mina did not blink. The Krog growled low, a warning. It stepped forward. Mina's fingers tightened around the branch, but she did not run. Her breathing stayed slow. Suddenly, the blind horned beast, the one that had protected her before, stepped between her and the Krhg. It growled back. The Krog paused. Then, after a long silence, it turned and walked away. Mina climbed down and stood beside her old protector. She placed her hand on its side. It made a soft sound, like a hum deep inside its chest. It was not just protection. It was respect. She had become part of their world. In the days that followed, more beasts came near. A flying serpent brought her fresh leaves. A lizard with blue scales left small fish on a rock beside her. It was like a gift. She offered nothing in return but kindness and calm. And for the first time, the deadly jungle began to feel like home. Then something strange happened. As Mina sat by a tall tree one morning, she felt a vibration through the ground. It was not from a creature. It was too smooth, too regular. Stood slowly. The beasts around her felt it too. They looked toward the sky. A loud sound came, a deep hum that grew louder. A shadow passed overhead. Mina looked up and saw something she had not seen in many months. A spaceship. It was small and silver, moving slowly across the sky. Then, it stopped and dropped down beyond the trees. Mina stared in silence. Humans. She had heard of them from stories, before she was cast away. Brave travelers, builders, fighters. They lived in machines and flew between stars. Her people feared them, but Mina had always wondered about them. Were they kind? Were they strong? Would they fear her like her own kind did? Would they understand her? The beasts were restless. Some backed away. Others growled. They did not trust the ship. Mina looked at her pendant. The small circle of metal blinked again. Once. It was possible that the humans had followed its signal. She did not move. Toward the ship, not yet. She knew that humans might see the beasts as threats. They might bring weapons. They might think she was dangerous too. She needed to see them first. That night, she climbed to the top of a wide tree, higher than any other, where she could see the sky and the clearing below. The spaceship was resting on the ground. Lights glowed. From its sides, figures moved near it. 4 humans in suits. One was tall and carried a long stick. Another scanned the area with a blinking device. A third stayed near the ship, and the last looked around carefully, holding a small screen. Mina watched. The beasts watched too, from the dark edges of the jungle. The humans had no idea. They were being surrounded. And Mina felt something in her chest, a mix of hope and fear. She had survived this planet. She had been accepted by monsters. But now, the real question stood before her. Would humans accept her too? Or would they try to destroy what the monsters had learned to love? The spaceship stood in a small clearing, its lights glowing like stars fallen to the ground. Around it, the wild jungle of crawlies held its breath. The air was thick, and even the wind moved slowly, as if waiting. Mina sat high in a tree, watching the humans below. They were the first people she had seen in many months. Her heart beat faster, but her face stayed calm. She watched every move, every sound. There were 4 of them. The leader was a strong man named Real. He had a sharp face and steady eyes. He walked in front, holding a scanning tool. He didn't talk much, but his team followed him closely. The second was Laura, the medic. She was kind-eyed and always checking her bag. She looked at the plants with interest, collecting samples carefully. The third was Fen, the tech expert. He wore glasses with green lights and spoke fast, always looking at his small machine. The last was Nico, the guard. He carried a long energy rifle and never smiled. His eyes searched the trees again and again. They had come to explore crawlies. They thought the planet was empty. Dangerous, yes, but without people. They didn't know someone had survived here. Someone very small. Mina thought she watched as the humans set up their camp. They placed blinking lights around the ship and scanned the area with drones. Fen walked in circles, marking the soil and talking to himself. "This place is alive," he said. "More energy here than normal." Real nodded. "We'll stay 2 nights, no longer." Nico walked to the edge of the jungle and looked into the shadows. He felt something. "Captain," he said, "we're not alone." Real turned. "What do you mean?" "I don't know," Nico said slowly. "It's like something's watching us." He was right. Mina was watching. But she wasn't the only one. Behind her, hidden in the trees, the beasts of crawlies were also watching. They didn't trust the machines or the voices or the strange light. That night, the jungle grew tense. The creatures moved restlessly. The flying serpents stayed close to their nests. Even the blind-horned beast didn't come out. Mina felt their fear. Something was wrong. Then, in the middle of the night, it happened. A loud roar broke through the silence. Trees shook. The earth rumbled. The humans jumped from their sleep. Laura grabbed her medical bag. Nico raised his rifle. Real shouted, "Lights on!" "Watch all sides." A giant shadow moved toward the camp. It was a 3-headed beast, with thick scales and burning red eyes. It had smelled the humans. Now it came to kill. The team backed up, weapons ready. But they had no idea how fast it was. The beast charged, breaking branches like dry bones. Then Mina appeared. She stepped out from the jungle. Small, barefoot, thin as a stick. The humans froze. "Is that a child?" Laura whispered. Mina raised one hand. The beast stopped. Its heads turned toward her. It growled. But it did not move forward. Mina walked slowly. She didn't speak. She didn't run. She simply stood between the humans and the monster. Then she did something no one expected. She sang. It was not a song with words, but a soft hum. A sound like water over stones. A song only the beasts knew. The monster growled again, then lowered its heads. It backed away and disappeared into the trees. Silence returned. Mina turned her head and looked at the humans. They stared at her like she was a ghost. Real stepped forward. "Who are you?" She didn't answer. Laura took a step too. "Are you hurt?" Mina stayed still. Nico didn't lower his gun. "This is a trick. What child controls a beast?" "She didn't control it," Fen said. He checked his scanner. "There's something strange in her body. I don't understand it." Mina looked at them. Her eyes were calm, but full of sadness. She didn't trust them yet. Then she turned and walked back into the jungle. The humans didn't follow. For the next 2 days, she watched them from the trees. Sometimes they saw her. Sometimes they didn't. The beasts stayed near her, always quiet, always close. The humans talked about her. "She must have crashed here," Laura said. "Maybe a long time ago." "But how did she survive?" Fen asked. Nico didn't like it. "She's not normal. No kid lives here alone. No kid sings to monsters." Real said nothing for a long time. Then he spoke. "We don't leave yet. We learn more." That night, Mina left a small fruit near their camp. A gift. Laura found it and smiled. "She's trying to talk." "She wants us to know she means no harm," Real said. Nico stayed quiet. His hand never left his gun. Mina returned to her tree. She looked at the stars and touched her pendant. It blinked again. She closed her eyes. Maybe the humans would understand her, maybe not. But for the first time, someone had seen her not as a monster. Not as a mistake, but as something real. The next morning, the jungle was quiet again. The birds stayed hidden. The trees whispered in the wind. But near the humans' camp, a soft sound was heard. Footsteps. Small ones. Mina stood at the edge of the clearing, her hands behind her back. Her hair was messy, her feet muddy, but her face was calm. She did not speak. She just watched. Laura saw her first. She smiled and took one slow step forward. "Hello," she said gently. "My name is Laura. Can you understand me?" Mina tilted her head. She didn't reply, but she didn't run either. Fen came closer, holding a small scanner. Her body. It's giving off a strange signal. Not human, but not fully alien either. She's a hybrid? Nico said, his voice low. "Is she natural or made?" Real raised a hand. "Stop talking like she's a machine." He looked at Mina and said, "We won't hurt you." Mina stared into his eyes. Then, slowly, she held out her hand. In her palm was a fruit. Bright green, shaped like a star, a gift. Real took it carefully. "Thank you." She gave a small nod and sat on a rock near the edge, watching as the team worked. But Nico still didn't trust her. That afternoon, while the others set up their base, Nico kept an eye on Mina. He watched the way the beasts followed her. He watched the way the jungle stayed silent near her steps. "She's controlling them," he whispered to Fen. "Some kind of signal. Maybe a tech trick." Fen shook his head. "No tech. I scanned her. No chips, no weapons, nothing." "Then how?" Nico asked. "Why don't the monsters eat her?" Fen looked at Mina. She was feeding a baby beast with her hand. The creature, half her size, purred like a cat. "I don't think she controls them," Fen said. "I think they trust her." Meanwhile, Laura sat beside Mina and showed her small pictures on a screen. Animals, trees, food. Mina looked at each picture carefully. When Laura pointed to the picture of a human, Mina touched her own chest. Laura smiled. "Are you part human?" Mina didn't speak, but she gave a slow nod. Real watched all this and thought deeply. The girl was not normal, that much was clear, but she was not dangerous. At least not to them. But that night things changed. While everyone slept, Nico left the camp with his gun. He followed a trail he thought Mina had walked earlier. He wanted to find proof. A machine, a signal, something that showed what she really was. Instead, he found something else. He walked into a small clearing and saw dozens of beasts lying around. Some were sleeping. Some looked up at him, but none attacked. In the middle stood Mina. She was singing again, that same soft hum with no words. The beasts listened. They moved gently around her, as if her voice was wind through leaves. Then she noticed Nico. She stopped singing. The beasts turned their heads toward him. Their eyes glowed in the dark. Nico raised his gun. "Don't move," he said. Mina didn't move. "I knew it," Nico whispered. "You're not just a girl. You're something else. What are you?" She didn't answer. The beasts growled. One stepped forward, teeth showing. Mina raised her hand, not to stop Nico, but to calm the beast. And it worked. The creature backed down. Nico lowered his gun slowly. He didn't understand her, but he finally saw the truth. She wasn't a danger because she was strong. She was a danger because the monsters loved her. And love, in a world like Crowley's, was a kind of power no weapon could match. He returned to the camp, silent. The next morning, he didn't tell the others what he saw. Real sat beside the fire, drinking from a silver cup. "You were out late," Nico nodded. "Just looking." Real looked at Mina, who was now helping Laura clean medical tools. "Still think she's a threat?" Nico didn't answer. Instead, he looked toward the jungle. Later that day, Fen showed Real the results from his scans. "There's something inside her," Fen said. "Not a chip, not a device, more like energy." "Explain." "She connects to living things, like a signal, but emotional. She doesn't speak to the beasts, she feels them. And they feel her." Real looked at the screen. Then at Mina. "Maybe that's why she was left here," he said. "Her people didn't understand her, or feared her, or wanted to hide her," Fen added. The idea made everyone quiet. Mina sat alone now, drawing on the dirt with a stick. Circles, lines, shapes. She was trying to say something, but she didn't know how. Laura knelt beside her and drew a simple image. 4 people and a small girl. Then a spaceship. Then stars. Mina pointed to the girl. Then to herself. She wanted to go with them, but would they let her? Real stood and walked over. "You want to leave this planet?" he asked softly. Mina looked up. She pointed to the stars. Real nodded slowly. "Then let's find out who you really are." But somewhere deep in the sky, another ship was already watching. And those people did not want Mina to be found. They wanted her gone forever. The air on Crawley's felt different now. The jungle was still dangerous. The monsters still roamed freely. But something had changed. The humans no longer saw this planet as just wild and deadly. Now they saw it as a mystery, a place holding secrets, far beyond what they expected. And at the center of that mystery was Mina. For days, she stayed close to the humans. She still didn't speak, but she listened carefully. She watched everything they did, learning their words, their tools, their habits. Laura was the first to earn her trust. She spoke gently and used pictures. One afternoon, Laura pointed to her own chest and said, "Laura." Then she pointed to Mina. Mina touched her chest and said softly, "Me." "Nah." It was the first time any of them had heard her voice. Laura smiled with tears in her eyes. "Yes, Mina." Fen and Real were studying her scans again. They had taken samples earlier, only with Mina's silent approval. She didn't like machines, but she trusted Fen more than Nico. "She's part human," Fen said, looking at the results. "But also, not. There's something new in her cells, like a second pattern." Real asked, "Could it be biotech? A design?" Fen shook his head. "No, it's not built. It's grown. She was born this way." Real leaned closer. "Then she's a hybrid?" "More than that," Fen replied. "She's a bridge." "A bridge to what?" "To life itself." They were quiet for a while. Fen continued, She doesn't just feel what animals feel, she connects to them. The scans show a field around her body, an emotional field. That's how she calms the monsters. She doesn't control them. She shares their pain, their fear, their joy. Reel looked out the window at Mina, who was now sitting in the grass with a small feathered beast sleeping in her lap. She survived here because the planet accepted her, he said. Or maybe, Fen said, the planet changed for her. But not everyone was at peace. Nico still kept his distance. He said nothing rude, but his eyes stayed cold. He was trained to see danger, and to him, Mina was still a question. That evening, while they ate, Mina sat nearby. She drew shapes in the dirt, stars, animals, and strange symbols. Some of them looked like her people's old writing. Fen copied the symbols onto his tablet. Real, he said later. I think she's trying to tell us where she came from. They worked all night, comparing symbols to old language files. Finally, they found a match. Mina's people were from a quiet moon colony called Vizari 5, part of a peaceful alien species known as the Dean. But the files showed something disturbing. 20 years ago, the Dane had hidden records of a failed experiment, a child born with mixed DNA, human and Dean, something they had never done before. The report said the child was unstable, unwanted. It called her Project Silence. They had sent the child away. To die. Reel's jaw tightened. She was just a baby. They were afraid, Fen said. Not of her, but of what she could become. That night, Mina woke from sleep. Her pendant was blinking fast. She stood quickly and looked at the sky. She could feel something. Something was coming. Suddenly, a strange ship passed over the trees. Black, silent, and wide. It didn't belong to the humans. It didn't shine like theirs. It was a hunter's ship. Mina's eyes filled with fear. The beasts around her growled. They felt it too. Inside the human camp, alarms rang. Fen jumped from his bed, checking the sky. We've got a visitor, he shouted. Unknown ship. Reel grabbed his gear. Wake everyone. Shields up. Laura ran to Mina. What is it? Mina pointed up. Vizari. Her voice shook. The people who left her, Reel said, realizing the truth. They've come back. But why now? Laura asked. Fen looked at the scans. They tracked her pendant. It's been sending out a weak signal for years. When our ship arrived, the signal grew stronger. Now they know she's still alive. They want to finish what they started, Nico said grimly. The jungle trembled. Something was landing nearby. Reel looked at Mina. She stood straight, eyes glowing. Faintly, wind lifting her hair. The beasts surrounded her, silent, ready. She's not running, Laura said. She's protecting us, Fen added. Reel turned to his team. Then we protect her too. They stood together, 4 humans and a small girl with the heart. Of the jungle behind her. In the shadows, the Vizari soldiers moved, wearing dark armor. Their orders were clear: erase the mistake. But Mina was no mistake. She was alive. She had survived a death planet. She had been accepted by monsters. And now, for the first time, she was no longer alone. She had friends. She had humans. And together, they would not let anyone take her again. The black ship from the sky landed far from the human camp, but Mina could feel its presence like a cold wind in her chest. It wasn't just metal or sound, it was fear. Deep fear. The beasts around her growled, uneasy. Even the flying serpents stayed close to the ground. The jungle held its breath. Inside the camp, Reel prepared the defense. Shields up, he said. Fen, monitor all directions. Laura, stay with Mina. Nico, you're with me. Fen's fingers moved quickly over his tablet. The ship is Dean. No broadcast signal. It's a military class. They came ready for war. Laura held Mina's hand tightly. They're here for her, she whispered. Mina didn't speak. Her face was still, calm, but her pendant glowed brighter than ever before. She stepped forward and looked toward the jungle. The trees moved, not by wind, but by force. Something was walking through them. Heavy steps. Reel and Nico moved toward the edge of the clearing. The rest of the team stood behind them. Then the Dean soldiers appeared. There were 6 of them, wearing dark armor with sharp helmets. Their eyes glowed blue through the masks. Each one carried a long weapon on their arm. At the front stood the commander. His armor was silver and smooth. His name was Vale, and his voice was cold. "We do not come to speak," he said. "We come to collect." Reel stepped forward. "She's under our protection." "She is not yours," Vale replied. "She belongs to us. You found her. Now return her." Nico raised his rifle slightly. "She's not a thing to be returned." Vale took a step closer. "That child is a danger to the stars. Her presence was never meant to survive." "She's not a danger," Laura said firmly, stepping beside Mina. "She's alive. She's peaceful." Vale's voice grew sharper. "Peace? She walks with monsters. She was made from forbidden science. She is the end of balance. If you do not give her to us, we will take her by force." Suddenly, the jungle moved. Dozens of beasts appeared, horned, clawed, feathered, scaled. They formed a half-circle around the humans and Mina. Their eyes glowed, but not with anger, with loyalty. The Dean soldiers raised their weapons, and Mina stepped forward. The beasts parted to let her through. She walked until she stood between the 2 sides. Small, barefoot, silent, she raised her hands. A soft wind moved through the trees. Then came the hum, her song. Low and calm. Not loud, but full of power. The beasts lowered their heads. The jungle quieted. Even the soldiers hesitated. Mina looked at Vale. Her voice was clear this time. Not loud, but strong. "I do not belong to you." Vale narrowed his eyes. "You speak now?" "I speak when it matters," she said. "You are a mistake," he growled. "No," Mina replied. "I am the proof that life can change." She turned to the beasts. "Protect." In one roar, the jungle came alive. The beasts charged. The ground shook. The trees shook. The Dean soldiers opened fire, but it was too late. Reel shouted, "Fall back, defend Mina." The humans moved quickly. Fen activated a shield wall. Laura pulled Mina behind it. Nico fired from the edge, hitting 2 of the Dean. The battle was fast and wild. A giant clawed beast slammed into the Dean line. A flying creature lifted a soldier into the sky and dropped him. The blind horned beast ran through trees like a hammer, knocking enemies aside. Mina stood still behind the shield, her eyes closed. Her song grew louder. And the monsters obeyed. Vale, now the only soldier left standing, walked toward her through the fight. His armor was cracked. His arm was bleeding. "You think you've won?" he said. "This changes nothing. You are still a danger." Reel blocked his path. "You've lost." Vale raised his weapon. "I was ordered to erase her. And I will, before he could fire, a huge creature stepped between them. It was the Krog beast, the king of the jungle. It growled once. Then, with one swing of its claw, Vale was thrown against a tree and did not rise again. Silence fell. The battle was over. The jungle was still. The beasts surrounded the humans, not as guards now, but as family. Mina stepped forward and looked at Vale's broken armor. She whispered, "You feared me, because you never understood me." Reel walked beside her and placed a hand on her shoulder. "It's over." Mina turned to him. "No, it's just beginning." The black ship was still parked nearby. Inside, data files, recordings, and tools were left behind. Fen and Laura collected everything. They found reports, plans, proof. The Dane feared her, not because she was dangerous, but because she was free. A being born of 2 worlds. A life they couldn't control. Back at camp, as the sun rose over the jungle, the humans sat around the fire. Mina sat with them now. She ate their food. She listened to their words. She drew stars in the dirt. And when Laura asked her, "Do you want to come with us?" Mina smiled. She looked at the sky, then nodded. The jungle of Crawleys was quiet now. The black ship from the stars had been taken apart. Its weapons were gone. Its memory files were saved by the humans. The Dean soldiers who came to erase Mina were gone too, defeated by the very creatures they called monsters. But the biggest change was inside Mina. She was no longer hiding, no longer watching from trees. She walked beside the humans, laughed in small smiles, and helped wherever she could. Her fear was fading, piece by piece. Real, Laura, Fen, and even Nico now saw her as one of them. Not just a survivor, not just a strange child, but someone special, someone worth protecting. In the days after the battle, the team prepared to leave Crawleys. Their ship was repaired. Their data was saved. But the most important part of the mission was clear. Mina was going with them. Laura gave her a clean shirt and soft boots. Fen made her a small wrist device that could translate basic words. Real taught her how to use simple tools. Nico, still quiet, gave her a metal pendant, a small round charm. It had a single word carved into it: hope. Mina wore it with pride. Before they left, Mina wanted to do one last thing. She walked into the jungle with no fear. One by one, the beasts came to her: the blind horned beast, the feathered serpent, the blue-scaled lizard, and even the mighty crag beast. They all stood in silence. Mina placed her hand on each of them, whispering something soft and kind. "I will not forget," she said. "You are my family." The beasts bowed their heads. Mina smiled and turned back toward the clearing, where the humans waited near the ship. Fen checked his tablet. "We're ready for takeoff." Real looked at Mina. "You sure you want to come?" Mina nodded. She looked once more at the jungle, the place that had tried to kill her but later saved her. It had given her more than life. It had given her meaning. She stepped into the ship. As the engines lifted them off the ground, the beasts watched from below. The wind rushed past them, but they did not run. They stood tall, eyes bright, as their small friend rose into the sky. The ship passed through the clouds, then into space. Mina looked out of the window. Stars filled the dark like diamonds. Laura sat beside her. "You okay?" Mina smiled and said, "I'm not alone anymore." Back on the ship, the humans began their report. Fen recorded everything: the battle, the Dean soldiers, Mina's abilities, and the jungle's strange acceptance of her. They sent it to Earth's High Command, unsure what response they would get. The reply came hours later, short, powerful. "Bring her home. Protect her. She's not a threat. She is a gift." Real smiled at the message. He turned to Mina. "Earth is waiting." Mina said softly, "Will they be afraid of me?" Real shook his head. "Not anymore. Not after what they'll see." Fen added, "The people need to know your story." Nico looked up. "They'll tell it for generations." And they did. When the ship landed on Earth, Mina stepped out holding Laura's hand. A crowd waited: scientists, leaders, and children. No weapons, no fear, only wonder. She walked slowly, head high. Cameras flashed. People whispered. And someone began to clap. Then everyone did. They didn't see a monster. They didn't see a mistake. They saw a small girl who had survived a planet of death, turned monsters into friends, and stood against the people who once wanted her gone. They saw hope. Years passed. Mina grew older. She studied science, learned languages, and helped others connect with animals on wild planets. She taught humans how to listen to life, not just control it. She never forgot Crawleys, and Crawleys never forgot her. On that jungle planet, the creatures still walked beneath the trees. And sometimes at night, they sat quietly and looked at the stars, Waiting for a small voice to return, legends began to spread. They spoke of a tiny girl who sang to beasts, who stood without weapons, who made monsters kneel, the humans called. Her, the jungle's heart, the beast whisperer. But to those who truly knew her, she was simply Mina, a girl who was once left behind. In the end, became more than anyone ever expected.